This is going to be an exciting project. So as you might be able to tell from this, a little bit tough from this angle, but the front of the car sits a little bit higher, especially you can tell on the wheel gap between the front and how the back sits. So that's because the front of this car is still on stock suspension, stock control arms, stock springs. It has 60-year-old parts on there pretty much. And so what we have over in boxes over there is a streeter track coilover system for the front of this car. It bolts right in. I'm gonna have to do this Shelby drop because I didn't purchase it. Streeter track has an option where you can purchase it with the Shelby drop, or you do the Shelby drop yourself. I chose to do it myself just because I wanted that challenge. I wanted to see what that's like. And you know, it also saved $100 and some odd, and I'm cheap. So anyway, I'm gonna get these this car up in the air, get the wheels off, and start taking a look at this. So I wanted to give a quick look on that wheel gap there. You can see it a lot better from this angle. So you can see there's quite a bit of gap there. And let's go to the back here. You see that wheel is pretty well tucked. Step one, break the lugs loose, because if you don't, they're not gonna come off when you get it up in the air. Step two, jack up your car. All right, now that the wheels off, let's look at some of the horror that's down here. This is the biggest horror right here. You can see that ball joint is gone. So I was very much on borrowed time there. There's the upper control arm, the spring. You can see all the overspray from when it got painted. Oh, let's see what we got back here. You can see those end links are pretty cracked. I don't think that came with it, so I may have to get some end link bushings or end links for this tie rod. I'm sorry, sway bar. Looks like that bushing needs to be replaced as well. So I'll probably look at Rock Auto or something and get those parts. You can see there we're attached. There's another ball joint back there you can't really see much of. And let's see what we got under here. This is where the lower control arm connects. I can't really see much in there either right now, but we'll take a look at that as well. Overall, I think that's really the bad spot on this side, is that upper ball joint there. It's pretty bad though. Oh, let's look at the other side. All right, what do we got on this side? Oh. Okay, that one doesn't look as bad down here. So that one, it's a little smashed up, but it's not bad. That one's starting to fall apart. So again, the upper control arm ball joint, those are cracked. So we're gonna have to replace those. That's cracked, so we'll have to find that again. That's not in this kit, it's in Rock Auto. These are, I believe, in this kit, these strut rods. I think there's some adjustable ones that come with this kit, but it looks like the bushings are not bad on that either. But we are gonna be replacing them anyways. So that's what we're looking at. Up top, we just have the export brace that we need to get off of here, and then we'll have to get the shocks out of the towers there. The fun part will, as usual, is the springs. You have to compress the springs to get them out, and then try not to kill yourself when you release the compression. So time to get to work. Now the moment we've all been waiting for, the YouTube unboxing. I'm probably not even very good at this. All right, what do we got in this one? Looks like these are part of the strut rods that I was talking about. Oh, this is your Shelby drop template right here. So that's my template so that I can do the Shelby drop. Gonna come in handy. Looks like some ball joints in these guys. And then some of the, I can't tell on those. I'll have to pop those open and take a look. But before we get there, let's see what's down here. Oh yeah. Look at that. Tubular lower control arm. Some Moog ball joints. Got the bushing kind of set in there with the strap, so I'll have to pop that out obviously. They have some nice Zerk fittings right here, so we can keep this thing in good shape. That looks good. And there's the other one. I'm guessing the upper control arms. So once I've done the Shelby drop, it's already labeled left, so this is going to be on the left side of the car, and then we'll pop this guy on and get her all connected up. You can see there's a nice base for that coilover on the lower control arm. And there's probably one more right there. There's the other one. So we're looking like we have a complete kit, with the exception of the coilovers, which are in this box over here. Good. All right, let's go slide these over. Came pretty quick when I ordered it. I was impressed with the speed. So far, I've purchased the rear springs from Street and Track, and I've been happy with everything they've done. So this is obviously a lot bigger purchase, but here's our instructions and some information there. So I'm gonna obviously keep those. Gotta have the sticker, so that's going on a wall or toolbox or something. These guys up. These are looking like the coil springs. Oh yeah, this is beautiful. Look at that guy. Oh my gosh. That is a great looking part there. So we got 2 of those in there, and should be good to go. I'm really excited to get these on. So, next step. I just lost the part here, but not really, because it came out as all just sitting in there. There we go. Next part here, read the instructions. Okay, the first line in the instructions. Suspension should only be installed by someone experienced and competent in the installation and maintenance of suspension. That almost counts me out, but I'm gonna do it anyways. All right, I read the instructions, so you don't have to. Just kidding, you better read the instructions if you do this. So first thing I'm gonna do is pull these 3 nuts off so that we can start pulling these shocks out. So we'll pull those 3 off. We'll pull this nut down here that's on the bottom of that spring perch, and then we'll pull those shocks out. All right, unfortunately down here, we can't just zip zap it off. Oh, that's not gonna fit either. Damn it. So we're stuck using this. Let's see, righty tighty, lefty loosey. We're gonna go this way. And I said 1 bolt, but guess what? I think there's another one on the back side. I'm not 100% sure on that. We're gonna find out though. It says in the instructions, so I'll refer to those if I have to. Yeah, that's exciting, so we'll be back. Okay, yeah, there is another bolt, and let's see, I can't see it. Hold on, there it is. So that's on the back side of the upper control arm perch. You can see it'd be right over there. That's where I'm looking. So we gotta get that off there too. And I went ahead and threw one spring compressor on there. I still got to get another one on, but we're gonna need to do that too. All right, so I highly recommend putting that spring compressor on because that sucker popped when I pulled that second bolt off, and everything kind of popped down, and I wouldn't have liked to see what it would have done if I didn't have that spring compressor on there. So, anyway, got that out of there, so now I can pull this guy out. A little stuck there. There we go. Look at that, KYB shocks. Pretty. So now I'm going to try and compress this a little bit more with that compressor. Grab the other compressor that I have over there, spring compressor, put it on there, and get this spring out of there. This is the part that I really hate. Well, I ended up getting myself into a little bit of a predicament. So you can see that spring is kind of bent, kind of tacoed this way. I don't know if I can see that, but it's kind of bent like that. Because I have those two springs, spring compressors kind of on this side. So I need to get something more on the back side. So I went and bought a little bit smaller compressor. I'm gonna put that on the back side and see if I can't compress the back side and get that thing out of there. Well, I got it out of there. Like I said, this is the least fun part. So as you can see, I already got the spring compressors on there. I tried to put them as opposite as I could on these. See if I can get this in here. Nope, that's not gonna fit in there. This one I can probably do, we'll see. No, oh damn it. Let's see if I can finagle that to go in there. Yeah, that one I can get a little bit, but it's still not on there very good, so I might have to do this by hand. Nope, I don't like that. Okay. So, I'm grabbing a wrench and I'm gonna just do this by hand. You don't wanna watch that. All right, I've been tightening here for a few minutes, and now you can see as I tighten, the springs kind of get loose in there, and that's what we want to see. Basically, trying to keep it even on both sides. I couldn't get this one all the way to the bottom, so it's a bit of an issue. But seems to be going pretty good here. Out of the way. So I don't ever trust these things. Well, as far as I can push them. There we go. All right, now I'm gonna go get my compressors back off of there, and we got the hard part done. And you can see how much you have to compress these springs to get them. I mean, that's like 3 coils deeper on that one. So you can see we have to really compress them to get them out of there. All right, now that we got the springs out of there, next part is to remove these sway bar end links. So got a bolt on the, or nut on the bottom, bolt on the top. And one of the things it mentions in the instructions is to save all these bushings and washers. But I'm not going to be reusing mine because I'm planning on getting, I actually just ordered some new ones because these bushings are pretty much toast on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back together just so I don't lose these parts right off the bat, just so I can compare when I get the new parts, and should be good to go on this guy then. Okay, now I need to support the lower control arm with the jack, and then I need to put something on that spindle to keep it from dropping down when I take the upper control arm off, because it can cause damage to the brake lines and whatnot. So grab the jack, I'm going to put that under there, and then I'll put the, I'll probably grab a ratchet strap or something and hold that up. We'll see. All right, your results may vary. So I got the jack under the lower control arm there to hold that up. I have these little spaces in here, so I just utilize that space to kind of hold this guy on there, and I attached to the sway bar just because, I mean, it's something that's detached right now and not being in used, and it should keep it from just flopping out, because what we're going to be doing is taking the upper control arm off, and so it's going to want to drop out this way, and so I got to keep it from doing that. So next step is I'm going to take this castle nut out right there. That looks really gunked up and fun to play with, so this will be a blast. All right, I got that castle nut off there. Now I'm going to try this with a pickle fork, but I seriously doubt it's going to come apart. I forgot I have a ball joint separator tool, so I got that kind of snugged on there. So the little fork goes in like over the top here, and then you got a little straight piece that goes under the bolt. My dog's gonna get right in the way. Get out of the way, dude. And then you just like that. Woo! So, always fun. Okay, now that that's off of there, I gotta unbolt and remove that from the top of the tower here. I gotta figure out where that's the best place to do that is. So then the upper control arm should be able to come out at that point. All right, so the upper control arm bolts that you need to get to are back here. On the inside of the shock tower. I don't know if you can see, I got my wrench on that one, and then there's another one down there. It's hard to see, but they're tight, so I recommend getting these ratcheting wrenches. And that's a 3/4 inch. So I'm gonna ratchet those out, and hopefully this will all come out. All right, got this all out of here, so now it should just pop on out. And you can see how that kind of fell, so that's why they want you to put the jack under it and hold it with straps. Now that we've got the upper control arms out, we're going to hold off on taking the lower control arm out. And now it's time to put the Shelby drop template on there. I'm grabbing it here. So we're going to put this template up there on those two bolt holes, and you can see the template will give us a punch. We'll punch those out, take the template off, drill out our holes, and then we'll be set for the Shelby drop. Should be pretty straightforward, so let's see how it goes. Okay, so we got the Shelby drop template bolted on there, and then I'm just using a 1/8 inch punch and punching little marks on there. Let me go to the other side here because I already did this side, and you can see barely right there. You can see the mark there and the mark there, about 1 inch down. All right, now the fun. We get to drill. Oh, my battery wasn't in all the way, it fell out. Note to self, put the battery in all the way. See if I can find a sharper 1/4 inch here. All right, let's see if this one's better. Already looks better. All right, here's our first hole. All right, the second hole, I gotta make sure I'm in the right spot here, because that punch did not do a very good job on this side. Thought I did better. I'm thinking it's right here, but that's not acceptable. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the Shelby drop template back on there and repunch it. Okay, I cleaned that punch up a little bit, so now I can see it's right there. I'm gonna go ahead and drill that one out, and then we'll move up to the bigger drill, which is this 17/16, I believe is what it is, 17/32, sorry. And so we'll drill those out to 17/32 and then move over to the other side. All right, now that I got the little holes drilled, time for the big guy. So let's see how this goes. All right, that went well. Let's see if the rest of them go well. So I'm gonna do the other hole now, and then we'll do the other side. And there's the passenger side. Went pretty smoothly. Just got to make sure you take your time with the drilling, make sure it doesn't try and walk on you, and it's pretty straightforward. All right, now that we got the Shelby drop drilled out and ready to go, we're going to be putting these guys on. So this is our upper control arm. It already comes with the ball joint installed, so that makes things a lot easier. You can see these have a nice little Zerk fitting on there as well. So nice product, and this is the straight one where you have to do the Shelby drop as I showed you. There's another one that they make now that actually sits up, and then the Shelby drop is on the mounting point here. So if you pay a few $100 more, or a couple hundred, I think it's like $150 or something like that, you can get it, and so you don't have to drill the holes. So if you're not inclined to drill holes, then get that one from Streeter Track. This is marked, so this is the left side, so I'm going to put that on the driver's side. One of the things it mentions is the Heim joint of the that's this guy here, is threaded out a little bit further than the rear one. The front one's threaded out a little bit further than the rear one, and that gives it a little bit of a caster. I think it has a positive caster on it. So I'm going to double check all that and mount this in. Actually, before I mount those, I'm going to go ahead and pull out this export brace. It's just be easier, and I have to get it out of here anyways because we're going to have to modify our shock towers a little bit. We'll get to that, but for now, I'm just going to pull this out. Okay, I pulled the X brace out of there, and then export brace, I should say. And so the next thing I'm going to do is just pull these little studs out. I don't think we're going to need these anymore. I'll set them aside just in case, but if I was reading the instructions correctly earlier, we're going to be bolting in where those actually go, except we're going to have to drill some holes. So I'm just kind of skipping ahead because I want to get that stuff out of the way, and now we'll go back to the upper control arm installation. Okay, and then this is the driver's side upper control arm. I'm going to put those into the Shelby drop holes. You can see they fit pretty nicely. And so on the other side, we have a lock washer and a nut, and then they'll be tightened down to 90 foot-pounds. So I have this 3/4 wrench on the front nut there, just kind of sitting there, and the reason I did that is because I've swung the arm up out of the way, and now I'm going to take my torque wrench and put this on here, and hopefully I can torque it from this side. So let's see if I am able to do that. There it goes. All right, so I must have been right there, and just that's a pretty big chunk. So I'm going to move to the back one and do the same thing. Okay, now I've got both sides installed. Back over here on the driver's side, and the next part is going to be dropping this into our spindle down here. Okay. Okay. It's coming into where it needs to. I need to get it down a little bit further though. I need a little bit more angle on this, so loosen it up a bit more. Okay. Sitting struggle with this thing. Okay, that's starting to pop out now at the bottom, which is what I want. And I'll go ahead and start threading this castle nut. thread that up, and then we'll tighten that up, put it at 75 foot-pounds of torque there, and then once that's set to 75 foot-pounds, I'll put the turn it to where I can put the cotter pin in. Once the cotter pin's in, I'll bend those out, and that part's done. There it went. Click, click. Let me see where my, and looks like I need to torque it just a hair to get that cotter pin in. Oh, there we go. That should be good. Now I gotta get the cotter pin in there and bend it to where it belongs. All right. I think I can go in this way. Okay, now I just got to go get a little pair of pliers and bend those out, and this side's done. Do the same to the other side. I won't show you the repeat. Okay, now that we got the upper control arms in, it's time to remove those lower control arms. It looks like we start by breaking these the nuts underneath there loose on this strut rod. We want to loosen those up and leave them on, and then we go up to the frame side and remove that after those have been broken loose. But first I need to put this strap onto something because that's going to want to drop, and it's going to pull the upper control arm down and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and see where I can strap that up, and then we'll get to work on the other part. Okay, these are the nuts that are up under the lower control arm for the strut rod, and you can see there's a pin in this guy. That one seems to be missing its pin, so I got to pull this pin and then get to these nuts, and like I said, just loosen them. So now we're gonna pull this guy off here. So I gotta get that pin out, get that outer castle nut off, and then get that outer nut, which that looks like it's gonna be probably an open socket or an open wrench until I can get a socket on there, because that's a pretty long end there. Well, I got that outer nut off, but that inner one was almost a showstopper for me for two reasons. One, because of its size, I didn't have any wrenches that would fit that, and you can see the length of the bolt there. There's no way I'm getting a socket on there, so you can see what I'm using here. Found myself an open or an adjustable wrench, and then I went to go loosen it up, and I put all my might into this little adjustable wrench, and it would not budge. So I busted out my cheater bar. That did the trick. So now I have the fun of just doing this little by little here. Let me see if I can even film this. I just have to go a little bit. Oh, sorry, it takes some pressure still. Flip that and go a little bit. And so literally just flipping it and going a little bit at a time until I get this thing off of there. So this is gonna be a while. Well, that took a long time, a lot of cussing, and a little bit of blood, but it's finally off of there. And that's just this side. Now I gotta get that side. Okay, so I got those guys out of there. I just lifted up on the back side, went towards the back of the car, and pulled it out here. It does say to remove this bushing. That looks a little bit difficult because it looks like it's all kind of one piece here. So I gotta figure out how that comes out of there. If it's two separate ones or if it is indeed one piece. Oh wait, it's starting to separate now. Yeah, it's separate. Okay, you just pull that out and it separates, and then we can pull that one. That one just came out, and do the same for this side. So I'll pull those out, and oh, that was easier than I thought. There we go. So those are out. Next step is to pull the lower control arm, the existing one. So there's a castle nut on there. Where the heck is that? Is it on this guy right here? That looks gross. Oh yeah, that looks like fun. That looks like the Zerk fitting though. So I'm not sure if that's, oh yeah, there's the castle nut there. So we'll take that pin out, take the castle nut off, remove that, and then we remove this pivot bolt back here. And the whole thing will come out, hopefully, with ease. It's probably loose enough in there that'll just come out. So I'll go ahead and probably get the pickle fork and just pry that apart. And then, as I dropped you, then we're moving on to that guy. All right, I'm gonna try and get this with an impact. We'll see if this works. Not so much. Okay, I guess what I need to do is get a breaker on that. So that'll be my next. All right, let's try this. Oh, yeah, that one moves it. I don't know why the breaker or the impact was so wimpy. I really should have done it, but I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I'm not spinning my bolt on the other side, because this goes as a bolt that goes through here. So that gets something on there. Just wanted to kind of break it loose and then see what we're doing here. Okay. Yeah, that works. Okay. Now let me see if the impact will take it off there. Now that I got it loose. Oh, come on, man. Much better. All right, that's all off there. So I should have paid better attention when I read the instructions the first time. So for the lower control arm, that inner bolt to the frame over there, we're going to reuse our bolt unless you ordered the camber kit, which I did not. I just, this is a street car, so I'm not planning on doing anything fancy with the camber adjustments or anything like that. So this is my camber adjustments. So I gathered up everything that I took out of there. I just would have been more careful tapping the end of that. It doesn't look like it's too damaged or anything, so we should be in good shape. I'll put it back on there, get a good torque on it. We have a locking washer on there, so we should be all right. Okay, let's start off by getting this thing up in here. Oh, that's a tight squeeze. I might need to get the hammer and tap it in there. Well, maybe it kind of moved. Get it up in there. I just need to get it up a bit. So I might have to go there we go. Just had to get that other side higher in there. Now I need to get the eccentric in there how it's supposed to be, which is kind of face up. So I need to tap it back out just a hair. I'll show you this here so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so you can see the eccentric bolt there. Not real well, but it's currently kind of facing down, so I could clear this crossbar here. And now I'm gonna twist it, maybe, to where it faces up, because that's how it has to go in there, and then I'll tap it the rest of the way in. There we go. Now we got it more faced up a little bit, but now I need to go a little bit more. There we go. I think that should be where I need it, right there. Flat against the frame there. So I'm going to the other side, put the other eccentric washer kind of thing on there. All right, so look at this guy on first. Oh, I need to tap this forward a bit to get that on there. It moved. Okay. So now that kind of puts me where I need to be. This is all just preliminary adjustments here because this is all going to be adjusted by whoever does the alignment. Okay. So now I just need to tighten this down. And now I'm going to get my torque wrench and get this down to 90 foot-pounds, and that'll be on there. And then I do the same for the other side. There we go. Okay, I didn't like the way the video came out on the driver's side doing this outside part of the control arm. So I'm gonna redo it here on the passenger side. So you get to see, hopefully, the inner part on the driver's side and the outer part on the passenger side. So anyways, this is, first things first, I had to take the castle nut and the bolt off, or the castle nut and the pin out, sorry. Something's leaking here. I wonder if I have a brake fluid leak right here. Hopefully it didn't pull on it while I was sitting. So I'm gonna have to take a look at that. All right, well, just add it to the list, huh? Okay, so just need to adjust this a little bit while you work your way in. I need to get it far enough in that I can thread that castle nut at least a little bit. See, it's just barely on there. And this is what kind of happened on the other one, is you just barely get it in there, and then you get the castle nut to start. And then I just use the castle nut to kind of pull it in to where it belongs. But I need to get enough on there that I can thread it. And right now I don't have enough. Ow. The bottom part of this brake shield is nice and sharp. That felt good. Dang it. Okay, don't move. Get on there. No, I want to cross thread though. Okay, I think I got it on there. Straight. So now, just get my wrench here. And tighten it. This has to be tightened down to 75 foot-pounds and then move to where the cotter pin will be able to go in. All right, after fighting with it for a bit, I got that sleeve to pull in, that one on the bottom. It wasn't pulling into the spindle. So I got it to pull in. I took it out, cleaned it out real good, cleaned that off, put a little oil on that and the inside of the spindle there, and it started pulling in. It was still a little bit difficult at first, but it's going now. So now I just need to hit my 75 foot-pounds and get the cotter pin in there. Okay, so now we're going to install the strut rods. First thing is to assemble the strut rod. You have the strut rod assembly, you have the piece that's going to go onto the lower control arm, and then this piece is going up to the frame socket up there. So the main things on this, this thread right here is right-hand thread. This is left-hand thread, and that makes it easy for that caster adjustment. And then when we put this in, we want to make sure that this bolt here is horizontal or parallel to the ground. Otherwise, it could cause some binding, it says. And finally, this goes through the front, and you have this giant washer and nylon thread nut. And this is going to be tightened to 110 foot-pounds of torque, so that'll be fun to get that on there. So, and then there's a little steering stop right there, so that needs to be facing up when you put it on there. Okay, I got this strut rod on here, and so, well, it's not all the way on. I got to tighten the bolt, but you can see the main thing is you got to make sure that the far end, the back end, is on top of the lower control arm. And then, like I said, that one bolt has to be parallel. Now, to keep that parallel as you tighten it, they say to take a big screwdriver, basically, and shove it up in here and keep it from turning. So I got that on there, and I'm gonna see if I can't ratchet this down. Do a quick ratchet, and then we'll tighten it with the torque wrench after that. I need a battery. That usually helps. Let's see what I got here. That should help. Okay, get this so that bolt stays where it belongs. Keep coming off. Okay, so that's snug. I'm going to actually take this and back it out just a hair. And the reason for that is because I wasn't quite parallel. Now I am, and so with that being there, I can get my torque wrench. Set it to 110. There we go. All right, to get this part on, kind of the difficult part is I don't have anything to set the alignment, so we're not looking at like caster or camber or anything like that right now. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it, and I'm gonna get it to where I can get it over to the alignment shop. So it looks halfway decent when I get it over there. And he doesn't think I'm a complete idiot. But, you know, he probably will. All right, so I got it on there so that we got a little bit of thread on each end. We don't want too much of this run out, so either on either side, there or you can't see it, but under there. So I adjusted this to kind of be fairly even, and then I'll probably do a little bit of a measurement on each of those and do the same on the other side, just the same depth, I guess, on the other side, so that we get at least even-ish caster. And then the perch, I went ahead and took the perch off of the coilover, and the one thing about this is for the 67, 68, there's an arrow, and that arrow points towards the outside of the car. So that's the only thing you have to watch out for. The 65, 66, they apparently mark those for left hand, right hand, but they're universal, just need to point to the outside of the car. On the 67, 68. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on top of there. Just kind of set it on there, and then I have 2 bolts with a washer. Those will go underneath the control arm. Get those in. All the way up into the, and this is the tricky part, trying to find the, I can probably do it like that, yeah. Okay, so now it's starting to thread. Okay. There we go. Get the other one. So this lower control arm, the strut rod is fully installed. Now I'm gonna go to the other side, and then we'll be on to the coilovers. All right, so we're fully assembled down here. Now we just need to get the coilovers on, which sounds simple enough until you realize they want you to drill into the shock towers. Okay, here's what I gotta do. So, take this out a little bit and maybe take a look at this. So this is the punch they provided. I think I already went over that. So we have this top plate that sits over the 3 holes, or under the 3 holes of the export brace, and then in there you can see the top of the shock tower shock brace under there. This one actually has that hole, so we're going to kind of have 2 holes there side by side. So what we do is have this kind of sit, and I have those 3 holes lined up where I can see the top of the tower, and I'll show you when I pull this off here. It's kind of a 2-piece. And then I'm going to take the punch, and I can punch out 1 hole. And I think I'm just going to do this guy because it's a little bit tight, so I want to make sure I get that one. So I center punch that guy, and then I'm going to drill it out with a 3/8 drill, take the export brace and plate off, and then we'll put a bolt in place to hold this in where it is, and then we'll punch the other 2. And then we got to go do the other side. So if you know anything about export braces, if you've worked with one before, they're not fun. So they don't line up typically with the back panel and these guys very well. So this is going to be a trick of just like shifting back and forth and getting everything how it's supposed to be. So I'm going to be playing with the alignment here for a few minutes on both sides, try and get those as lined up as I can. I don't think it'll be perfect. You get a little bit of play in the, the movement of it. So I did put a couple bolts in there just so that it doesn't slide off too far off the hood area. So this is going to be fun. Okay, I think I got it about as lined up as I can. That side's not quite as lined up, but it says to do one side at a time, and that's kind of what I'm going for. I'm going to go to do this side. I'll go over to the other side, and then I'll have to bolt one side in, and then kind of pull the other side and bolt it in, I think, is what I'm going to have to do, because, like I said, export braces just don't fit 100% like they're supposed to. So everything looks pretty well lined up here. Just want to double check. Okay. That should give me a punch. This side. I need to slip this out. And I gotta go slip the one out on the other side. Just had it all in there. Okay, now I gotta take the export brace out. So I gotta put these two bolts that I just had sitting in there to keep it from moving. And I'll pull this out. And let's get a focus here. Where's my punch? Get the right, there it is. So you can see it right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a 3/8 drill. I'll drill that out. We'll put the bolt in with the plate and the export brace back in, punch the other two, and then take it all back off, drill it again, drill the rest, and then go to the other side. All right, well, here we go. Make sure I'm on the point here. Okay, so now I've got the top plate and export brace kind of just set back in here. I'm going to take the bolts that come with the top of the coilovers, and I'm going to line it up with that new hole I just drilled. I'm going to go underneath and, well, first I'm going to kind of line this up and make sure that's lined up still. I'm going to go underneath and tighten the bolt on, or the nut onto this bolt. Alrighty. And I'm just going to get it pretty good finger tight here. Actually, I take that back. That doesn't tighten down because it's supposed to be sandwiched inside of that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in there. It doesn't have an up or down, doesn't look like. It does look like, oh wait, there is a little lip here, so we gotta make sure that lip is in the right direction. So let me go figure that out. Okay, this little cutout, there's a little step down there. That's gonna go towards the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that on like so, get the nut on there and tight, and then we'll mark the other two. That's what it looks like underneath. So I just have that one nut on there for right now. And I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I'm lined up in here again. Oh, get a good video on this. So I'll go ahead and line that up a little better. Just a little bit of adjustment, and then I'll use the punch to mark those, and then we'll drill those out. All right, I got those punched. So now I'm going to use my step drill to carefully drill these out. Let's start with this one. What's weird about this one is that it's actually got a hole there, so just kind of widening that hole, I think. Try not to walk here. So this one, gotta check the width with the a little bit more. Yeah. So that's in there. Now I gotta get this other one down here. Just want to double check this because a little scuffed up while I was adjusting things, so I'm trying to figure out where the actual punch is, and I don't want to guess, so guess what? I'm going to put it all back together and make sure. Get a little better punch on this one. And now I'm just going to grab my step drill and right there. Don't walk on me. Nope. A little bit more. There we go. Okay. Good size on that. Now we get to do the other side. I'm gonna take the vacuum to this, kind of get those metal shards out, and then I'll do the other side. All right, when all 3 holes are drilled, it should look something like this. So you can see I drilled the holes there, and then the other one kind of blends into this one, and that's okay. That's kind of how the instructions described it as well. Well, they don't describe it, they just show it in the picture. So the same thing on this side. So now we're gonna take these spacers, the top of the shock tower mount over there, and then we're gonna place the export brace over the top with the cover plate. These underneath, we're gonna mount it all together and torque it down. Okay, I just got the export brace just kind of set on there. I'm gonna slide this as that cover plate underneath and line the holes we just drilled. And I'm going to drop these 3 bolts into their respective places. And then I'm going to grab these 3 nuts, and then we're going to come down underneath. So here's the spacer, and then here's the top mounting bracket for the shock, coilover, whatever you want to call it. Now, because the way the holes are set up, these can only go one way because you're not evenly spaced here. And then these are going to line up. And then I talked about this earlier, but this little lip that's on here, that goes towards the bottom, so facing the ground, because there's a spring perch up there. You can kind of see, and it's going to kind of line up with that spring perch as we put it in there. I want to make sure I can grab those nuts with my hand. Don't tell anybody I said that. Well, I'm defeated tonight. So, putting the bolt in, so the bolt in through the spacer and top mount for the shock, you can see is about that long, but the problem is I could get the 2 back ones in and get that nut on, but when I drop it into the export brace, that's just sitting up a little bit too high, so I can't get any threads onto this bolt, which is the one closest to the engine. So I mean, it was literally just sitting out like maybe like that if I was lucky, and that was pushing it, and it still wouldn't get any threads on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some more of these bolts, just a little bit longer, and for my purposes that should be fine, and that'll give us a little bit more to thread in, and then we can tighten it down to torque and everything should be good. A little frustrating because it's about 9 o'clock at night. I'm off and on all day today. If these videos seem like they're off and on, it's because they are. I do this on the weekends and in the evenings when I'm not working and doing my regular stuff. So I just do it when I can and try and get out as much information as I can to everybody, so that, you know, if you're going to do it, you can learn from my stupid mistakes. So that's it for me tonight. All right. So after last night's defeat, got some longer bolts. So there's 2.5 inch, 3 inch. So not a whole lot of difference, but enough to hopefully get that top mount for the shock in there. Okay, I like those. So they're not tight. I just left them loose. The reason for that is because I'm gonna need a little play to get this side on. So that was, as I dropped stuff over here, that was the easy part, is getting one side on. Getting the second side on, I don't think is gonna be quite as easy. So I'm gonna struggle with this and see if I can't get it together. Okay, hopefully this isn't a complete disaster. We'll see how it goes. and I don't want to get my eyeballs right under it. Okay, hopefully that cleaned it out enough. We'll see. Well, pushing it or going in? I think it's going in. Yeah, there it is. All right. So now I should be able to get this third nut on. And now that all these are on, everything just needs to be torqued, and then we're going to be ready to put this coilover on. Sweet. I was getting ready to torque those down on the bottom there, but then I remembered we got those 4 bolts back there. So I'm going to put those on, and the reason that I'm going to go ahead and do that is because I want to leave everything semi-loose, because this stuff just wants to be able to wiggle a little bit when you put these bolts in. Otherwise, I mean, it's and once you get them in, you can just cinch it all down. All right, so one thing I just read is that when we torque these down, we torque them from the head of the bolt to 40 foot-pounds, so not from the flange, not underneath. So I'm gonna go ahead and torque these down from up here, and we'll do it at 40 foot-pounds and should be good to go on the top here. All right, success. So that's what it looks like underneath. And on top, the only little complaint, I have 2 complaints. One, that these were too short, so I had to go get 3-inch bolts. Not a big deal. And then there's tiny little gaps on both sides of these plates. Not a big deal, but that's just the way they lined up, and I tried flipping them and everything. Nothing really made it any better. So that's just the way they look, but overall I think it's a really good product, and I'm not unhappy about that. I just the only thing I really, if I had something to complain about, that's what it would be. All right, back at it after 2 nights. Last night was Monday, so I didn't feel like doing anything, and after work and everything, so here we are Tuesday night, and I scared the shit out of myself. On the instructions, which I didn't, it says tip. I didn't read the tip. It says, due to shock tower clearance, leave the 3 1/4 inch long half grade 20 grade 8 bolt in place when you're mounting the upper shock mount. And the reason is because you wouldn't have clearance to put that bolt in. Well, luckily for me, that must be for the 65, 66, because I was able to get that in. I had enough clearance to get that dude in there. So it came in from the front of the car on this one, so as long as that's going to work correctly, I'm going to go ahead and go with that. I don't see why the bolt direction would matter. So yeah, maybe 67, 68 you can get the bolt in, but 65, 66 you can't. So at any rate, I will go ahead and move on to the next, which is installing the springs. All right, we're gonna go ahead and install the coilover here. I'm gonna start with the upper. It says to start with the upper mount here, so but I'm kind of hitting my sway bar. I'm gonna push that out of the way for right now. All right, got that in there. Push that bolt through. Okay, it's hanging there. And find the other washer and nut. So the washer goes on, and then this needs to be torqued down to spec as well, but I'm going to go ahead and tighten it. I don't think this is going to fit on that side, so well. Yeah, I typically like to hit the torque with the nut unless they tell me otherwise. or I just can't. Okay, I'm happy with that. This is a nylon ended nut, so I was just kind of feeling to make sure that that bolt came all the way through, and it did. And so it's on there. So now let's turn our attention to the lower control arm. Okay, so what I need to do is there's your lower control shock mount, the lower control arm mount for the coilover, and I need to take this bolt out. There's a bolt. Let me take this out and I'll kind of explain it as I do it here. So on this lower bolt, come on, be easier to show you, but it's taking forever to undo. Okay, here we go. On this lower bolt, there's a washer and a spacer on that one, and there's a washer and a spacer on the other side as well. So that sandwiches in from both sides. So now that I got that out of the way, I'll set that aside, get my old nuts out of here. It does talk about in the instructions, if you are running factory disc brakes, which these are not factory, these are aftermarket, you have to put the bolt in from the back side, and then the nut will go towards the front side, and that's to deal with some steering clearance issues. I don't think that's going to come into play with these aftermarket. It doesn't look like there's any clearance issues that I can see at all. So I'll check everything full lock to lock. If I have to move it, I'll move it. So now I just need to torque this down to 50 foot-pounds, same as the top. They're both 50 foot-pounds, and then do the other side. Okay, this is where the instructions are talking about the sway bar modifications. So you can see this is kind of a squared off end, and then they have you rounding one of the ends off, and that is to give a little bit more room for, let's see, control bar. Oh, that's closest to the mounting bracket. So the corner closest to the mounting bracket. However, if you look at my sway bar, I'm going to come over where the light is. You can see I've already have rounded ends on the sway bar, so there's a completely different sway bar than what they're talking about. So I shouldn't have to worry about that. Like I said, I got to pull mine out anyways because I'm going to replace those bushings. I actually have those in that box there. And then talks about the 67 through 70 cars. Sometimes the lower coilover mount might need to be flipped 180 degrees. And the only reason for that is just for sway bar clearance, but it says don't be concerned about that until you've done your alignment. So just a couple of notes to consider. Okay, and I'm just gonna make sure I got the pieces and parts I'm expecting before I take that sway bar off. All right, so went with the Moog, which are usually good products. So I went with that. These are the bushings, and I did get polyurethane bushings on these. Might make it a little bit stiffer. We'll see. Obviously, the whole ride's going to be completely different anyways, so. And then I got the sway bar end links there. We got 2 of those, so these look like they're in good shape. What I'm looking for, and we'll go ahead and put those on. And first, I got to take the sway bar off. One thing to note on these inner bushings was that there was 2 different sizes. There was 17 millimeter and 19 millimeter. I just took my mic and just checked the size of mine, and it was 17 millimeter, so that's what I went with. All right, I'm gonna use a 14 millimeter, pull these guys off here. Oh, yep, it's got an upper nut, dang it. Upper bolt, I'm sorry. So those are broken loose, but now you get the something on that upper, which is not gonna be easy. Okay, I got the driver's side off, but I'm gonna kind of demonstrate on this side because you can reach in from up kind of this underneath here and be able to get that on there. You have to get a socket though, because it kind of sits in a divot or a kind of a tray, and you can't get just a straight wrench on there. And so get a socket, and I'm using a 14 millimeter, and then put that on there, and then it just there it goes. All right, got that out of there. Now we gotta clean it up and get those bushings changed. All right, got these bushings off of there. You can take a look. They're all busted up and cracked and really soft and flimsy. So these weren't doing a whole lot of good. So getting these new bushings on here is gonna be a good deal. Okay, let's put together this sway bar in link. So again, we're gonna put the that bushing face down, the bulb side kind of face down, and to the top of the sway bar. And I'm just gonna set it there for a second, and then put a bushing face up with the washer underneath it. That's gonna go face up here towards the sway bar. There it goes. Okay, so that's in, so it's gonna kind of be squished in like that. And I'm just gonna let that go for a second. We have this little centerpiece, and I'll explain what they described this thing for. And honestly, there was no instructions that came with this. I had to look them up, and I got bits and pieces from different places, so hopefully this is all right. So I got that set on there. Now I'm gonna take, oh, I had to find it, couldn't find my washer. Another bushing and washer, set that washer in that top space there. And that's gonna go face down into the lower control arm. And okay, and that's the top part of the assembly. Now the very bottom of the assembly is this guy here, and there's a bushing that goes face up into the bottom of the lower control arm, and you can see it. Yeah, you kind of where I'm going, just in the bottom under the control arm here. And then I'm gonna just finger tighten this first. And it's coming together. Okay. All right, so that's pretty much finger tight there. We're gonna take our wrench and put it on top, and we're gonna let it set up against the shock as I tighten here on the bottom. It's a 14 millimeter up top, a 5/8 at the bottom, because we don't really have a metric. Now as you tighten, you spin this center piece, and when it stops spinning easily, like so now I can't really spin it. It says tighten it down like 3 to 5 more turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just because I like things tight. So that's all it takes, I suppose. So these kind of move around, obviously, so that's kind of the point. That's in there. That should be the last thing I got to do on the suspension. I'm going to go ahead and post this video as it is, while this video is going up and hopefully going viral. Yeah, right. I'm going to be pulling the power steering rack out because I'm leaking. You can see I got a pretty good leak down there. from the power steering rack. So I'm going to pull that out. This is an aftermarket Unisteer steroids. I'm sorry, not Unisteer, steroids unit. And I think what's happened is the top line is riding up against the, I have this Canton oil pan, and I think those two are making contact. So I might have to, kind of put a little bit of a spacer to drop that down just a hair. Hopefully that doesn't screw up my geometry too much. Yeah, we'll see if that's even the issue. Oh, and I do want to say that before I end the video, I didn't grease these ball joints, so I'm going to do that before we start driving.